Hello and welcome everybody to the Truth Lab. I'm your host, Alex Landry. Today is episode number 24, and our special guest, his name is Keith Smith. Aloha from Florida. How are you doing, Keith?
Hey, aloha. Good to see you, Alex. Good to finally connect. I know we've been trying to do this for, I don't know, at least 6 months, maybe more.
Yeah, am I persistent or what?
Yep.
Yeah. So I discovered you. I mean, I'm not really sure how. I mean, I think you would know best. I mean, if there's a particular reel or video of yours that's maybe gone viral or what. Obviously, I watched the one documentary, the anti-Kethra mechanism. If I probably botched that up a little
Yep.
bit, but you
Yeah,
know,
I say anti-Kithera. Some people say anti-Kythera, but I say anti-Kithera mechanism. So yeah, that's probably where you first learned of me, was in that documentary.
I think, but I also think it was just some of your, reels, whether they were reels or videos. I'm not sure if you're more on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, I do a Both. I don't do Instagram. For me. It's either Facebook and TikTok for about the last year or so. And yeah, I've probably done a couple hundred short reels. I try to keep the points short and sweet, 2, 3, 4 minutes, because the smartphones have ruined our country with everybody's attention span. And if I keep something at like 60 seconds, it'll get way more views than something that's 3 minutes long. But anyway, yeah, I've done a lot of reels, so you probably saw a few of those.
Yeah, and I think what drew me to you was the whole Aloha from Florida because I'm in
Oh
Florida.
yeah.
We're both on different sides of Florida. I'm over on the Gulf side. You're on the Atlantic, and you got the Aloha hat. I think I told you I lived in Hawaii, and I know you visit there. And I will say I
Yeah.
was in Oahu a couple years ago. I don't know if you've seen it, but I saw Kauai from Oahu, which is about 90 or 100 miles away. And that was before I really started
Yeah. Yeah.
research very seriously. So let's get right into it, Keith. How would you describe your truth seeking journey? Have you always been a truth seeker?
Uh, I'd say yes. I mean, as much truth as I have, been seeking after and finding throughout my life, there's still a lot of things I don't know, and I'm not sure, and I can choose to believe this or choose not to believe that. But when I came across flat Earth, or when it came across me, that was back in 2017. A Navy pilot came into my place of business and told me to research flat Earth. So I did. I went to some places he told me. Within 2 or 3 months, I knew the Earth was flat, but like everyone that's just starting out, and I didn't know enough to talk to people about it. So I just kept digging in. After about a year, I mentioned it to a friend of mine, and he thought I was crazy. And that just pushed me to dig in all the more. And after about 2 years, I came out publicly, and I'm pretty well versed in the flat Earth cosmology, which I call geocentric cosmology now. And that was, like I said, that was 2017. This is 2026. At this point, there's absolutely no debate. There's only denial. If someone wants to believe in the globe, they're going to believe in the globe. But all of the natural sciences, all of the physics of the real world that affect our daily lives, all of it uses the flat earth as the default position. Everything about the globe is theoretical, hypothetical physics, so that they can do chalkboard calculations and math magic trying to confirm a theory that cannot be confirmed in reality. So the biggest one for me when I first got into this, because I'm at the ocean all the time, I'm always looking at that perfectly flat, level, horizontal horizon, and I know that the truth of water destroys the lie of the globe. The truth of water is that it's level on its surface when it's in a large body, and it must be contained. Now, the globers will say, well, gravity holds all these trillions of gallons of water to the earth while it's spinning and rotating and revolving and tilting and wobbling and spiral vortexing. But the smallest little insect can break the force of gravity that's holding down trillions of gallons of water. Okay, sure, that's a cool story. Gravity is just nothing more than part of them doing math magic to try to confirm their theory. Water, for me, is the number one proof that the Earth is flat. When water is in a large body, it cannot display convexity on its surface. So that's when people ask me, that's what I go to. But there's so many others. At this point, there's literally a mountain of evidence for flat Earth or geocentric cosmology, and there's literally just a bunch of, I don't want to swear on your podcast, but I just say there's a bunch of little lies which I would call bullshit about the globe that people have been brainwashed with since they were born. And the thing is that most people have never even questioned it. If you question the solar system, if you question the Earth being a globe, and you really just follow the facts, you can prove flat Earth to yourself pretty quick, pretty easy. I think flat Earth is one of the easiest things in the world to prove, but for a lot of people, it's one of the hardest things to accept because of the depth of the indoctrination that we all received and people being taught, even brainwashed, to not question what they were taught to believe. Don't question the authority. Just regurgitate what we tell you in a test so that we can pass you and pat you on the head and say, good boy, good girl. But if you, when you become an adult and you start practicing some intellectual honesty, you start practicing some intelligence, which is the ability to question things and consider things that contradict your beliefs, flat Earth becomes pretty obvious pretty quick.
Spot on, man. I mean, I'm right there with you. It's just kind of like what I'm sure you've discovered is people can't really learn unless they want to learn, right? It's kind of like a choice people make. And but yeah, I mean, you're so
Yeah,
passionate about it, and I completely agree with the water as well too, because it's like you said, I mean, I just saw a butterfly, hover around, and I'm not over water right now, but really close to it.
right.
You're pretty close to the water right now as well, too, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm just a couple miles from the ocean, and we're down at the beach all the time. My kids have grown up in the ocean surfing. But, for a lot of other people, the number one proof for them is once they start looking into airplanes, the physics of aviation, and especially the flight paths and the emergency landings. All of the flight paths, especially the emergency landings, and I'll add the undersea cables, they make absolute perfect sense on a flat Earth map. And they don't make any sense at all on the globe. So if people will look into aviation and the physics of flight, and I'll give a couple good resources to the people that are watching this podcast to check that out because that it's a very strong one. Aviation, the truth of aviation, the physics of flight. It only works on a flat and stationary Earth. And there are many, many, many flat Earth pilots. In fact, there's one documentary that my friend Vika Drazev did called Flatten the Curve. And that documentary is full of commercial and military pilots saying, yeah, we know the Earth is flat. Here's how you know. Here's all the real world applications of how airplanes work. It only works on a flat and stationary Earth. Then another great one is a book by my friend Eddie Alencar. It's called 16 Emergency Landings Proving Flat Earth. And that's just another death blow for the globe. Eddie, when he first started getting into this, he, like everybody else, he believed the Earth was a globe. But he has a master's degree in emergency management, and he was tracking a football team or a soccer team that was flying from one country to the next, and their airplane came under an emergency, and they had to land very quickly. And within a few minutes, they're out of the sky at an airport. And he's like, "Well, how did they land there? They were way out over the ocean." And then he figured out with the flat Earth map, they were flying in a straight and level line, and they were flying right over that airport when the airplane came over or came under an emergency. So, 16 emergency landings proving flat Earth. And for those of you who like to read, there's a book about that. If you like to watch videos or listen to people teach it, that's on Flat Earth Banjo on YouTube. Eddie's got hundreds and hundreds of great videos on there.
what's it been like for you watching people go from like ridiculing this to then maybe becoming an advocate, not so much like yourself, because I can't really think of
Yeah.
an advocate more than, you or David Weiss. But you get what I'm saying? So that's what I'm kind of thinking about. And then like, have you developed some process of kind of, for one, there's like a litmus test to see if someone's like open to this type of truth. And then, if you were to have a very high level
Yeah.
discussion expert, kind of where, because remember, I've talked to you about trying to figure out volcanoes or the tides and explaining
Right.
things, not using heliocentrism or globe math.
Yeah, that when you first hear about flat Earth, you have a million questions. We all do, and some of them I still not sure how it all works. But like I said, the truth of water proves the Earth is flat. The physics of aviation proves the Earth is flat. There's other things as well. But you asked me, how's it been seeing these people wake up, for a better way to say it, maybe. It's been somewhat fun, but here's the deal: some people are seekers of the truth. Some people don't care about the truth. They just want to believe that what they've been told is true. They just want to they look for confirmation bias that the earth is a globe, and they have argued against flat earth for years. Some of them. I've got a good friend, one of my best childhood friends, still trying to argue with me about flat earth. I said, "Bro, try to prove me wrong. You know you can't. We've been talking about this for years now, and I give you dozens of simple, observable, measurable, repeatable proofs that the earth is flat, and then you tell me to go to the edge and take a picture. Which one is stronger there, sir?" But I mean, here's the truth. Oh, excuse me. There we go. Here's the truth. If the truth is important to you, you can seek and you will find. If the truth is not important to you, you're just going to look for confirmation bias, and you're just going to defend the deception that you were brainwashed with. And for me, that's a weak way to live. That's like being a sheep or someone who is asleep. Truth, the way I say it on a lot of my videos, truth is strong and lies are weak. And flat earth is the truth, and the globe is a lie. And if you're sincerely seeking the truth, you'll come to the knowledge of geocentric cosmology, which is commonly called flat earth. But I like geocentric cosmology better because it incorporates the motions of the sun, the moon, the planets, and the fixed constellations over the surface of our flat earth and around our magnetic center. And in fact, that's one of my main go-tos and talking points nowadays, is that what we see in the sky with the heavenly luminaries absolutely proves geocentric, flat and stationary Earth cosmology. What we see in the sky absolutely does not and cannot work on what they tell us about the Earth being a globe or the solar system.
Have you connected with Whitsitt Austin? He's in Florida too. He's been
Yeah,
on.
I've met him. I've met him a couple times. We spoke at an event where we were both, sharing the stage. I spoke, second that day. He spoke. I think he was like one of the main draws then. But Whitsitt has had some serious personal issues or struggles the past year. Haven't seen or heard much from him. I don't know. But see, the thing about flat Earth, and it's so funny because people are like, "Oh, that's a cult." Oh, really? Who's the leader? A cult has to have a leader, and there's so many people like me that are just out there making their own content, doing their own observations with measurements, proving there is no curvature. We have falsified the R value, the alleged radius of the earth, thousands of times by seeing things far in the distance that you absolutely would not see if the earth were a globe of said proportions. So Whitsitt was a good guy for a long time and did a lot of good for flat earth, but I don't know where he's at now and what he's doing. I know he's been fighting a hard battle from what I've heard from close friends of his.
It's funny because he's not too far from me, in the Tampa area. Do you have any thoughts on Jaron? Because Jaron was actually the third person I interviewed on the TruthLab. Because a big reason why I started
Yeah,
the lab was
I I think Jaron has went from a place of strength of the truth of flat Earth to a place of weakness, trying to promote the globe, and I think he's doing it for money. I don't know; I could be wrong, but he's definitely gone from a place of power and strength to a place of weakness and foolishness. He's using the same stupid, weak arguments that the Globers use online in these conversations all the time. And the best you can do if you're going to try to defend the globe is to share a weak argument or a weak belief or a weak opinion based on a false assumption. The truth of all of the natural sciences prove a flat earth, and like I said, the globe is all based in theoretical physics, which is just hypothetical and imaginary. So if you want to believe that the earth is a globe, if you want to believe you are a monkey person living on a spinning wet rock in outer space, that's your prerogative. You can believe whatever you want, but you'll never give even 1 ounce of empirical evidence for the earth being a globe or for the solar system. It kills these guys when I tell them there is no solar system. The sun is not the center of anything. Nothing's going around the sun. The only thing we have is an Earth system, and the sun is just the primary luminary within that system. And it moves over us like the moon in a perfect clockwork cycle from the Tropic of Cancer in the north to the equator to the Tropic of Capricorn in the south and back. And the sun does that once a year and makes the seasons. The moon does that same circuit every single month like clockwork. So, like I said, what we see in the sky is a divine clock, and it can't work on an ever expanding universe moving in multiple directions in insane speeds that they tell us. But you can believe in it if you want to, but you'll never prove the globe. You'll never prove the solar system true. You can only have faith in that.
Yeah, as we know, a lot of times I just try to engage. There's what's called I think a palmist. polemist, if I'm saying that right. It's like a warrior like debater. Um,
Mm,
and so basically, one of the best ways to educate people is to ask them questions. So, like with a lot of these people that
sure.
are so attached to the ball, it's like asking them, what's the circumference of the Earth, allegedly? Or, what's the distance from the Earth to the moon or the sun? And, just asking them these questions that unfortunately, at one point in their life, they were told this and then they repeated it and then they don't really think much about it. Because, everybody gets it. Like when I interviewed John Bush Monday, he brought up like, well, what difference does it make? you
Yeah.
sure you hear that and it's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, what difference does it make? I mean, I try to be very tactful and polite, but it's like one could say
Right.
you're not awake if you can't discern falsehoods from the
I
truth. And
mean, yeah, I mean, for people to say what difference does it make, to me, even though they might be battling, the truth battle on a different front, on a different subject or something, they just haven't really considered or learned much about flat Earth or geocentric cosmology. It matters because the truth matters. And if you have your head full of a bunch of lies, you are much easier to control and manipulate and just, wear a face diaper for 2 years and inject all kinds of things into your body because the box told you to do so. It's like lies allow you to be led by people who do not have your best interest in mind. Truth helps you to be strong, to think independently, to be intelligent, and to question things. So that's why it matters to me and matters to a lot of other people. But the old saying too, truth sets you free. I asked a question, and this has been several years ago now, when I was adminning a Facebook group. It had maybe 30,000 people in it at the time. That same group today has about 60,000 people in it. And I said, what has the knowledge of flat Earth done for you guys? Would you please be willing to share that with me? I said, not that if you think maybe, possibly the Earth is flat, but you absolutely know that the Earth is flat. What has that knowledge done for you? And there was three different answers that came up repeatedly, again and again and again. One of them is that it gives me more peace of mind. Well, that's a pretty good reason. That's a benefit of the truth. That's the fruit of truth. Truth creates peace. Lies create stress. Another answer that they said is that it has given them a greater sense of freedom. Well, that's what truth does. Truth sets you free. And then the third answer that came up repeatedly is it's given me a closer connection to my creator. Again, that's what truth does. So truth makes you strong, lies make you weak. The flat earth is the truth, and the globe is the lie. And if you want to defend the globe and believe in it, that's your prerogative. Go right ahead. But there are more and more people waking up to the truth of creation. This really is more than, it's way more than just flat earth versus the globe. It's really about geocentric, intelligently designed, created cosmology where life was created on purpose for different purposes for us versus a big bang accidental nothing with no purpose, no meaning, and you're a monkey person. And the big bang lie gives birth to the globe lie, which gives birth to the dinosaur lie, and it gives birth to the evolution lie, and it gives birth to the atheism lie. So that's why this matters. It's not just flat earth versus the globe. It's the truth of creation versus the lies about creation, that there is no moral absolutes, there is no God, there is no gods, there are no creators. It's just you and me. And since there is no real authority, the government's the authority. So do what we tell you to do. Go to work, pay your bills, pay your taxes, and when you die, we'll tax you some more. And it's we're in this free range tax farm, and a lot of people would agree with that. But part of that comes from the brainwashing or the indoctrination of believing in the Big Bang lie, which gives birth to the globe lie. The way I say it a lot of times is the globe is just the baby of the Big Bang. The Big Bang never happened, and the globe never happened.
man, I mean, there's just so much right now on my mind. I'm trying to reflect on what's relevant. So obviously, we both know Justin Harvey. He's been
Yep,
on
yep,
twice. I love what he's done because you're not far from the Space Coast. I'm kind of wondering because I just
yeah.
connected with some engineers affiliated with SpaceX and the Space Force, and they were working on the Artemis project. And it's like, what am I going to do? Because with what I do with real estate, and then this was during a food tour, I'm connecting with them. Obviously, I'm not getting into this, and I'm just curious, like if you've actually had a conversation with like an engineer involved with NASA, SpaceX,
I,
space.
Well, I have talked to ex NASA employees, people that have worked there for 20 plus years. One of them told me that what they do with their rockets is just a show, but their real work is secret and it's all, related to the military. I don't know. That's just what I've been told by people who worked there for decades. I have had a lot of conversations with pilots. I used to fly somewhere almost every week to different places in the country teaching, and I'll ask some of these pilots, and one of the most recent was there's two pilots walking by about my age. I said, "Hey guys," I just smiled at them. I said, "Is the Earth round or flat?" And one of them said, "Well, it's round as far as I know." And the other guy smiles at me really big. He said, "I think it's flat." He said, "Come here, I'll show you something." And he pulled out his phone. He said, "I used to fly high altitude in the military," and he showed me a picture from his phone that he took while he was flying high altitude. What was it? It was flat. So a lot of airline pilots know the Earth is flat. There's a couple things I'll share real quick. I gave some resources earlier, but there's three things I say all the time about the geocentric cosmology related to aviation. The first one is that the ADI does not lie. The second one is the TOD tells the truth. And the third one is the pitch data proves the Earth is flat and stationary. Now, the ADI, that's where they house the gyroscope that holds rigidity in space. They set the gyroscope in, let's say, New York City. They fly all the way to California. That gyroscope is referencing level from New York. They're flying level all the way across the U.S. for 3,000 miles. The ADI, the gyroscope, proves it. And then the TOD, that's the top of descent calculation. When a commercial jet's coming down out of the sky to land at an airport, they're usually about 100 miles away. And that top of descent calculation always calculates a flat and a stationary baseline. If they took into the alleged curvature of the Earth, they would still be over a mile in the air when they're supposed to be slowing down enough to put their wheels down and touch down, and every airplane would crash. But all the airplanes get to where they're going, they land safely because they are assuming the Earth is flat and stationary in their real world math applications of how to land that airplane. And then the pitch data. They take off, the pitch data sets in when they hit their cruising altitude, and they will fly for thousands of miles. And the pitch data shows that the orientation of the aircraft does not change in relation to the surface of the Earth. The term is called straight and level flight. And you got Glober saying, well, level doesn't mean flat. Yes, it does. Level and flat mean the exact same thing. You want to try to take the word level and say, well, that's just everything going down towards the center of the Earth. And if you're the same distance from the center of the Earth, you're level. No, flat and level mean the exact same thing when you're talking about the surface of the Earth. It is topographical for sure. But the way I say it is the Earth is an intelligently designed, enclosed electrical, magnetic, topographical, stationary plane that we just commonly and easily call flat Earth. But yeah, the physics of aviation and all these conversations that I've had face to face with pilots, they've been a lot of fun, but they've all confirmed the Earth is flat and stationary. Many of them.
It's just interesting because I'm sure you're hearing the headlines about, the the United States is sending three Americans, one Canadian to orbit the moon in spring. You get what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So that's all. Because remember, it's all about like Elon, the richest person in the world, the robots, colonizing Mars.
yeah. The show must go on, right?
Yeah, I know,
I
but
mean, I don't know. I don't know how many billions Elon gets, and people say, "Oh, SpaceX is a private company." Bull. The government has given SpaceX billions of dollars for what they've been doing with their rockets. Meanwhile, NASA alone, not even including anything with SpaceX, NASA receives something like 25 to 30 billion dollars every year. That's 60 to 65 million dollars every single day of taxpayer money, and the best we get is CGI videos and a rocket down here at the Cape going up, over, and down, splashing into the Bermuda Triangle. I mean, it's a show. They lied about going to the moon, and they've been lying about everything else ever since. The ISS is a huge joke. People, you can see the ISS, it's real. I said, yeah, you can see a commercial jet at about 7 miles away, too, just barely. And when the commercial jet flies in front of the moon, between the Earth and the moon, and you watch the ISS footage transiting in front of the moon, the commercial jet and the ISS is just almost exactly the same angular size. That's impossible if the ISS is the size they say and the distance they say. They say it's 253 miles away, but yet you can see it transit in front of the moon. A commercial jet, you can barely see it, and it's only 7 miles.
Can you hear me, Keith? I don't know what just happened. I'm not hearing you.
I can hear you.
Hey, cool. Now you're. So it was just like
So
five. You
that's
can.
good. I'm just saying, it's like the show must go on, bro. I mean, it's just science fiction for the fanboys, really.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, what's coming to mind is also when you talk about the clock, because that's a way that I understand everything. And then obviously there's the Prague clock, and
Yeah.
so it's interesting kind of having that type of worldview instead of the satanic, heliocentric, perspective. So have you spent much time trying to decode the Prague clock? Because I have, and it's almost like it's a lot, I feel like, for an individual to decode.
It's a lot. What here's what I have done, and I'll sometimes the Globers will ask this, like, oh, why? How do the stars opposite rotate opposite in the south? Well, they don't. They all go east to west. And what they're saying is, why does there appear to be an opposite rotation down there? I don't know, but here's what you can look at and prove yourself easily with the star trails, and that is one motion in perfect unison, not four motions. If you're watching the night sky from an Earth that's rotating and revolving, tilting and wobbling and spiral vortexing, four different speeds, four different directions, all at the same time, then a time lapse video of the night sky would look like a bowl of spaghetti. It looks like a divine clock over our heads because everything up there is moving like a divine clock, and the Earth is not moving at all. So what I ask some of the Globers, I'll say, well, do you know what the Antikythera mechanism is? No. Okay, do you know what the astrolabe is? No. Okay, what about the astronomical clock in Prague? Do you know what that is? No. I mean, they're really, really, really ignorant when it comes to the idea or subject of geocentric cosmology, let alone, like you said a minute ago, they're ignorant about their own globe beliefs. They don't know the circumference at the equator. They don't know the rotation speed or the alleged revolving speed. They don't know anything about the globe, but they're still believing in it and trying to defend it. So I ask them these questions about these things, and I say, well, what about archaeoastronomy? Do you know what archaeoastronomy is? No. Okay, well, I just gave you three extremely precise historical artifacts and one extremely accurate field of study, archaeoastronomy, that proves we live under a divine clock. It proves geocentric, flat, and stationary Earth cosmology. Any one of those. Now, I guess this is the best place to plug the documentary that you mentioned earlier. I was in a documentary also done by Vika Drazev, who did Flatten the Curve with the pilots. He did one called The Mechanical Realm, and that's about the Antikythera mechanism. And everything in the sky, all the heavenly luminaries, move over our surface and around the magnetic center of our flat Earth like a divine clock. And the electromagnetic shaft, that is between the North Pole on the ground and the North Star in the sky. So if you can imagine the Earth is like a dartboard and you lay it flat, the bullseye is like the North Pole, and almost directly over that in the sky is the North Star, and the sun, the moon, the planets, and the fixed constellations all move around that electromagnetic shaft like divine clockwork with repeating cycles for all of recorded history, at least the last 5 to 6 thousand years, which we have documentation of written in stone. That's another thing I say. Other than just truth is strong, lies are weak. Truth is written in stone. Lies are written on the internet.
Yeah. So I can't remember. Did I discuss Coral Castle with you yet?
No, we talked about that privately one time, but not on here.
Yeah, so I don't want to go on and on, but I was in Amsterdam, and somehow a weird series of events led me to a man on a plane when I was flying back to the States about an American Stonehenge. And initially, it got me looking into the Georgia Guidestones, which are no longer here. But then I found out about Coral Castle, and since then, I've been there 10 times. I brought my family.
Nice.
I've studied it from an engineering perspective, but then also meditating there. So obviously, with the Polaris telescope, I mean, it's exactly what you're saying. It connects with the swastika, how the Big Dipper, looking at it
Yeah, for the solstices and equinoxes, it makes the what's swastika, which that's been demonized, and historically that was a symbol for peace and prosperity. Just talking about the seasons, but yeah, we talked a little bit about that, but that falls into the field of archaeoastronomy. One of the ones that I like to talk about is Chaco Canyon, and there at the only solstices. Yeah, I think is it solstices or equinoxes. There's a little path between these two stones where the sunlight can go in, and it's called a sun dagger. The sun rays hit this spirograph pattern that's under these stones, like divine clockwork. It splits this little spirograph thing in two, like a clock. It's either the solstices or the equinoxes. But people can look into that too. But yeah, the pyramids aligning to the stars, and most of the old world buildings, whether it's the Vatican itself or the city of Washington D.C. or St. Petersburg in Russia, all of them are like a giant sundial built in the perfect relationship to the motions of the luminaries over us. Again, the earth does not move at all, and everything in the sky moves like a divine clock for all of recorded history.
It moves when there's an earthquake, right? But what's funny is
Yeah.
with all of this, nonsense, pirating going on with oil, and I'm sure you heard about the Russian tanker too. I mean,
Mm.
it's just so laughable because I think you understand. I mean, I know you call it geocentric cosmology, but there's also ether cosmology, and like understanding
Yeah.
ground has a negative charge, and so the
Yes,
positive
sir.
is attracted to it. And this idea, the old world buildings you mentioned, were engineered to tap into that, harness it, amplify it, and
Yep.
promote health, enlightenment, well being. So that's another aspect of all of this that's going on. It's like what is really going on about free energy? What is our actual history? I mean, did you look into the old world before flat Earth, or was
Nope. No, flat Earth led me to that, but for some people, the old world leads them to flat Earth. It just depends on the person's personal journey. But yeah, the old world is definitely related to geocentric cosmology or the flat Earth. You have all these amazing structures literally everywhere, from Asia to Africa to Australia to all of the Americas, with the exact same architecture, and most of them built in perfect alignment for the ecliptic, for the path of the sun, for the solstices and equinoxes, still lining up perfectly today. All of these old buildings built by people who knew the earth was flat. They knew that the sky moves like a clock, and it's still working today. Man, the sun temples in India, those things are amazing. And they're still extremely accurate today because the sun and moon act like a clock. The entire sky acts like a clock.
Well, I mean, there's one book that I've recommended to people called The Secret History of Human Resets. I don't know if it's I want to say Donnie Davis. I haven't really read through it all because there's a lot of pictures because I feel like I already know it, but it's kind of in my head, so it's nice to have it as a
Mhm.
book. But the thing is, it seems like I interviewed obviously some people that just really focus on this, whether it's the Cabbage Patch Kids,
Yeah.
talk about Tesla because sometimes Tesla is like an anomaly, like a scapegoat for the whole old world to make us believe like, oh, there's just one recluse, individual, kind of like Edward
Right.
Gallion, the builder of Coral Castle. Like there's just one individual that kind of, has this knowledge of the old world or the Great Pyramid
Hmm.
and so on. So it just really gets me wondering kind of like for you, like some people are like in 1776 there was a reset, in 1800s there was
Right.
a reset. It's like, well, a lot of people don't really think about this. You obviously probably have that. If you think about how you have two parents, you have four grandparents, you have eight great grandparents. If you keep doing that math, eventually, once you get back to like 1300s, you would have more ancestors personally than what the whole world population was, what mainstream tells us. So there's
Right.
definitely something going on. And then even mainstream looking at it, thinking that we're at the apex of intelligence right now. It's
Yeah, there's definitely, in my opinion, I don't see how you can deny that there have been different resets and repopulations of this realm that we live in. I honestly think the most current realm of history that we're in now is only about 200 years old, not much more than that, if any. It might be less than 200 years old. But here's the thing about all these resets: a lot of it is speculation. We don't really know. But here's one of the things you can know, and that is that history, as we were taught it by the government indoctrination camps, or history as we were taught it by the alleged authorities, that's just as fake as the globe. I mean, I can't say it any clearer. You think that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Meanwhile, America already had huge, massive stone cities everywhere way before the 1700s. So I don't even know that you can trust our timeline. Is it really the year 2026 right now? I don't know. I mean, we don't really know. I mean, there seems to be pictorial evidence of some of these old buildings that had dates or numbers on it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was just going to add in about how technically
Okay.
New Year starts in
Yeah, go for it.
that New Year starts in spring, not now.
Yeah. Agree, man. I totally agree with that.
And just like in
Yeah.
Hawaii, there is no daylight savings time. There is no, nonsense with that.
Right.
But but anyways, obviously you've been in Hawaii. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that for a moment. Do you have a favorite island? Have you spent much time in Kauai?
I've been on Kauai a number of times. For me personally, I like the Big Island the best. I don't know why. Maybe the vibe there. It's kind of 20 years behind, but Kauai kind of is too. I don't really care for Oahu or the real, tourist traps. I don't care for that stuff at all. And each of the islands have that, but Oahu and Maui are mostly for tourism. So for me personally, I like the more natural Hawaii, more laid back, and for me, that's the Big Island. But Kauai is beautiful too.
Yeah. I just love it, man. When did you first go to Hawaii? And it seems like what, maybe
20, well, no, 27 years ago, I got married and I went there for my honeymoon. But before that, I had went when I was 18 years old to a school there for about 6 months. I was 3 months in Hawaii, 3 months in Japan. And I turned 19 while I was there in Hawaii. So that was the first time I'd went. And then I went back when I got married, and that was 27 years ago. And you know what? I'm 54 now. I'm about to be 55. That's kind of crazy to say, hear myself say that. But yeah, about 27 years ago, I went. And then from that time till now, I've probably been back at least a dozen times. So it's got a special place in my heart. There's a connection there. And speaking of resets and the kind of the subject we're on, the last time I was there, I asked one of the locals, I said, is there any rumors or theories or conspiracies around the locals here that Hawaii is the remnants of Lemuria, or Hawaii is the remnants of the land of Mu? I mean, if you don't know about that stuff, that's just a really fascinating rabbit hole to go down. I think one of the guys that's covered that the best is My Lunch Break on YouTube. There's a lot of great videos on there about that. But the Hawaiians said, yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people think Hawaii are remnants of the land of Mu, or Lemuria, whatever, whichever way you want to call it. So that's interesting too. We don't know. We can trust, we can believe the government if we want to, but if you question the historical narrative, that falls apart just as quick as the heliocentric solar system does.
well, I do think there's something unique about Hawaii and truth seeking because we're told mainstream that the inhabitants of Hawaii came from Marquesas Islands or South Pacific, and then from there,
Mhm.
it does seem a little suspicious when we look at the globe model, how like it's just so huge, the Pacific Ocean. It's like, well, why is there a continent that's missing? What? And then when you start looking into the possibility that we
Right.
might be in some type of Hunger Game show, situation where like with the Prague claw,
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah.
and of course I don't want things to be speculation. It's like, what can we do? Can we maybe get like a weather balloon and have it go past the wall? I mean, what's going on here? There
Yeah.
has to be a way that we can use intelligence to really collect some data, because I don't know about you, but it's on my goals to go to the most northern part of where we can go. I am a dual citizen. I was born in Canada.
Right.
Times I may leverage that to be able to just get into Canada and during the summertime go as far north as I can. Are there? I think it's
Sure.
there's something and actually take observational studies, but then the idea of actually using a weather balloon, and trying to collect some information. I don't know what else to do, man, because I don't want us to have to die, and this continue to be like a complete joke here. Um,
Yeah, I mean that's one of the questions flat earthers will ask, like, "What's next? What do we do next?" And it's like, I really, honestly don't know. I think the most important thing is to learn to create and maintain peace of mind for ourselves in our daily lives. Not to be, subject to the lies of the system that just try to feed the fears of people and keep people stressed and tired and worn out. If we can learn to create and maintain peace of mind for ourselves on a daily basis, I think life will lead us to what's next for each of us individually. But yeah, I think you're not the first person I've heard say that. Want to go as far north as they can go, put up a balloon, see what we can see, because obviously we've been lied to. Yeah, people in Hawaii, are there weather balloons that are not controlled by the observatories or NASA that's there? I don't know. Can you put up a weather balloon out in Hawaii and see how far you can see? I don't know if you can see far enough, but what's interesting is there are highways in the sea and there are highways in the sky for the boats and for the airplanes, and they have to stay on those highways. There's really no independent exploration of this place that where we live once you get south of the 60th south parallel.
Like for example, let's say because you brought up the space station earlier, and it made me think of Starlink. So it's like, well,
Mhm.
why doesn't somebody just put a weather balloon up and try to take a picture of what the Starlink is? Because we're told it's what 200 miles up in the air.
Yeah,
Obviously, see it. We know it
something.
within a couple miles or something, and so yeah, that's just one example. Because sometimes it's like to really focus, and we know that unfortunately for some people, due to the ability to deny, there's people, especially now with AI. I mean, there's no coincidence here that I'm I'm open to most of our history was fabricated by AI, and then now AI is coming out because of the possibility of
Hmm.
providing evidence of things and just people saying, "Oh, it's AI." Or what I'm trying to say, it's like as we already know, the case is settled. This is one of the easiest things to prove, but people will just deny it. I mean, it's the tribalism.
Well, that's it. That's
You
yeah.
a lot more people about this than I do. But I
Well,
just
that's why I say there when well with this subject of geocentric cosmology versus the heliocentric, there is no debate. There is only denial for the people who want to continue believing in the globe. The truth of water, the truth of aviation, the truth of microwave transmissions that only work line of sight and they go hundreds of miles at a time, which absolutely cannot work on a globe. The truth of all the natural sciences, the true sciences that we use in our daily lives, it uses flat Earth as the default position. So there's really no debate about this. There's only denial from people who want to keep believing in the globe or the evil people who are hired and even paid to continue defending the deception. That's what we're dealing with. When I'm having these conversations with people, I'm either dealing with people that are just ignorant and they want to stay ignorant and they don't know much at all about the globe or flat Earth, or I'm dealing with actual paid trolls or paid shills that are being paid to continue the lie or keep the lie going. So, but in my opinion, at this point, it's not even opinion. It's just the fact. There is no debate. The Earth is flat and stationary. Geocentric cosmology is the only observable objective reality that we have. If you want to believe in the solar system and the heliocentric view of the world, then that's just nothing but blind faith in what someone else has told you.
I hear you, man.
Anyway, bro, I'm gonna have to get my kids here in a minute. So if we can just spend 2 or 3 more minutes and wrap it up, I enjoyed this. It's been good to hang out with you.
Yeah, no, like I said, a big purpose of the Truth Lab is kind of giving truth seekers an opportunity to share their truth seeking journey, how it started, how it's progressing, and where they see it going. So I guess where do you see this all going? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see humanity, society 5 years from now?
That's a great question, man. That's a great way to end it. I used to wonder, will the idea of geocentric cosmology take hold in my lifetime? Will the knowledge of flat Earth be mainstream in my lifetime? And I used to wonder. Now I don't even wonder about that. I know that it will. Yeah, within my lifetime, people will know the Earth is flat and stationary, and one day the biggest joke in humanity will be that people used to think the Earth is a globe. So it just, who was it? CNN did a poll of like these 5 different conspiracies or something, and one of the questions was how many people today in America think the Earth is flat. And what they were willing to admit is that 10% of Americans now believe the earth is flat. Well, they just admitted over 30 million Americans are flat earthers. They also said another 10%, which is another 30 million people, are unsure about the globe. So now you're pushing 55, 65 million people. And this was, they did this in, I think it was last year, 2025, maybe 2024. And it's just continuing to grow all the time because of just people that are questioning things and going out in the real world, doing their own long distance observations, paying more attention to the motions of the sun and the moon and the stars, learning what geocentric cosmology is. I mean, it's growing fast. So I think within the next 5 years, everyone knows the earth is flat and stationary. The battle will probably rage on for a while after that. But I think within the next 20 years, the globe becomes a joke because so many people will have been seeking the truth for themselves, and they'll easily find it if they do.
That's well said. And I'd like to just end it kind of explaining when I was living in Kauai, one of my most cherished mentors, he's almost 90. His son was kind of dropping some seeds about, oh, have I looked into green screens with NASA? Or have I looked into where the fuel on a 747 is stored and, the weight of the but I will say that was 2018. I didn't really start taking this seriously till like 2023. And that was after like a good year and a half of looking into the old world and history and all of that. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's all we can do, man. It's like dropping seeds, but people have to be a true seeker. So thank you. I really admire, you as a true seeker. I think it's really
Yeah.
unique. We both live
Thank you.
in Florida. We have a strong connection to Hawaii and how we just want what's best for ourselves, our family.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean that's what it is. And I asked this question of Glover. I guess I'll end with this. Then I got to get my kids. I'll ask them. I said, "Do you think if children were taught the truth of electricity and the truth of magnetism for the last 120 years instead of the bullshit about gravity and spinning rocks in outer space, do you think humanity would be further along?" And the Glober's like, "No, I don't really think so." I said, "Really? Really? You don't think if all of I didn't learn much about electricity or magnetism in my 12 years of government indoctrination? I mean, did you? Probably not. So, but what if for the last 120 years, where would we be if we learned about electroculture and how to grow plants with the energy that's in the earth and the energy, electricity that's in the air all around us? Where would we be? And I think that's part of the next steps for a lot of people is learning to become more self-sufficient, more and more people becoming off-grid, if you will, just learning about the power of the place where we live. And so I think that's a big part of the next step. And I think humanity would be much, much, much further along today if we had been learning the truth of creation for the last 150 years instead of all the kids being indoctrinated with gravity and spinning balls in outer space.
Spot on, man. They say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best is right now. So if you
Right on.
I can do for you, man, I've been a permaculture designer. Obviously, you may see my background, some of my fruit trees.
Nice.
Got some, I don't want to rub it in, but some big sweet potatoes I just harvested.
Sweet.
Yeah, I think I can do for you, man, because I do feel like that is a big part of this solution, and we could call it a stateless solution. But thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been really nice
Yeah.
connecting. I look forward
You
to.
too, Alex. And
Okay, so if you're
yeah,
ever,
thank you too, man. We'll definitely keep in touch.
yeah, if you're
So
ever around this area, please let me know, and I'll do the same for you. Okay,
sounds good, man. All right. Aloha.
aloha, bye.
Mhm.
Thank you for
Bye.
joining us in the Truth Lab.